Well, Jack sounds like he's having a rough day here with this cold or something going on, but basically, Jack is a terrific builder. He does so much for us, but I like to continue it into themes. So a lot of what you see with the work of the detail scenes and the dioramas are pretty much almost always on my bench as far as how these things work. Now there's a lot of little things in here, but before you even worry about doing the yard or the gas tank or the fence or anything like that, take a look at what you have as far as your work is concerned. Make sure you're happy with it. Make sure you hide any seams. We've said it before, Jack, the difference between a great craftsman and a good one is not that the great one does not make mistakes. It's that the great ones know how to hide their mistakes. So this is a good time, before you go planting this anyplace, to give it a good look. If something's wrong, break it apart, fix it. Sometimes you end up with something more interesting than what you started with in the first place. We're going to go right now into the yard. Now the yard is what we consider this part of the structure right here as part of the diorama. And it adds a lot of detail in this kind of an area. And the first thing obviously that you're going to see is we set up a perimeter. Now we keep it tight because these dioramas have to be traveled to shows with us.
Yeah.
But we use some Instafence here. Now the good thing is you have the Instafence in the kit, and you don't have to use our footprint. You can bend it to this way or that way, whatever looks good. But it's a vertical element. It's very easy to put together. The instructions are part of this, a very stripped down basic part of it, but they are in here. One thing we did this time, Jack, is we came up with I think a very unusual entry gate here, which you can see in the front, and you'll see on your screen. It's a chain link fence pair of gates, swiveling gates that are laser made, and the laser cut, and you could see a nice full-size picture on the bottom of page 36 here, what they look like. There's even a little sign that says private, keep out, okay? And here again, these can be placed wherever you want. You just have to make a couple small holes to tuck them into. Very simple to build. Adds a lot of detail. Once you've got the gates done and the fence, now you're dealing with the interior of the yard, and that's what we're going to be talking about next. All right, back again. We have two basic things here. Jack is knocking everything over, as you can hear on the side here. We have something called a pipe rack and something called a fuel tank. Now the fuel tank is pretty obvious, it's right there, and there's a lot of instructions on how to do it. The big thing here is knowing how to paint it and make it look rusted and weathered. As far as the pipe rack goes, it's simply some laser cut pieces that you assemble as per the drawing and use a piece of straw that we've included to represent pipes. Here again, this is supposed to be a supply company. So in this case, there's some supplies. This is why Jack mentioned earlier, retaining any extra doors, windows, even if you have some laying in your toolbox from other kits. It's a great thing to leave all over the place here. This is exactly the kit you've been waiting for, to use up all those exterior details that you just don't know what the heck to do with. So when you do the pipe rack, the only thing I would say is you put together the rack itself. The pipes I sprayed with a gray primer and then hit it with some black paint. And I glued it into place. It's a little tricky to glue in and to get everything to stick, because we're also used to working with wood glue that we're dealing with plastic here, so yeah, there's a difference. And once everything's stuck together, I went in there and I used some pan pastel powders to kind of add a little rust and some character to the pipes. As far as the fuel tank goes, and this is drawn to scale in the elevations here on page 37, it's basically a very large resin casting set upon a timber base, and you can see here all the different pieces. Now the nice thing here is that this base is a jig. You can actually line things up and help get everything together squarely. It's not a big structure. If you're out of square, it's going to show up very quickly and you will know it. Okay, so take your time with this. We basically primed the tank gray out of a spray can, you know, and then basically I used a lot of polyscale, which I have some left, flat aluminum paint, along with some black and some washes to make it look like a really well-worn, well-weathered, anyhow, tank that would be out in the elements 12 months a year. And that's how we did that. We did use a piece of solder to act like a hose. We drilled a small hole in the front of the tank and used a piece of solder that really bends very easily. It's in the kit. Painted the solder black except for the tip, which we painted silver to represent the nozzle. The last thing here are the signs. Pretty self-explanatory. You can name this whatever you want, but we call it the Tory Lumber Company. And yes, we give you extra signs. That's what we do. It's not unusual to find some extra pieces, extra components in Bar Mills kits because we know we're not all perfect and we've messed up enough bills on our own to know that sometimes it's nice when the manufacturers watch our backs. So that's what we try to do here. At any rate, Jack is kind of dipping on the floor here, hiding out of the way. And Jack, you can get up, Jack.
Oh, I can get up.
And you can get up. And
It's hotter than you think.
it is. So you can. You want to say goodbye to everybody, Jack?
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming.
We'll see you on the next skit.
It is. It's warm up here, and it's even warmer downstairs. Well, right now we're working on the next kit. Thanks again. So from Bar Mills, Jack Ellis with myself, Artie Fahey. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks again.